air in the kitchen was thick with a terror so profound it clung to the walls like smoke from a long-dead fire. Something invisible, but deeply felt. Around a chipped and worn laminate table, a family sat not in warmth or unity, but in brittle silence, held together only by their shared panic. Their eyes darted, not with affection, but with desperation, suspicion, and the suffocating weight of consequences too heavy to ignore. This wasn't a family gathering. This was a tribunal, an emergency summit, where the only topic on the agenda was you. Your name, your legacy, your presence, now haunting them like a ghost they had summoned through their betrayal. At the head of the table sat the one who had once been closest to you. A confidant, a friend, maybe even someone you once called family. Their hands trembled as they stared at a phone that had become an object of torment, glowing with your name on the screen like a silent judge. Every vibration, every alert sent a fresh wave of dread pulsing through their veins. They weren't grieving your absence, nor were they reminiscing about what once was. No, their fear ran deeper. They were trembling under the weight of something far more terrifying than guilt: divine consequence. Before we begin, if you're drawn to powerful spiritual truths, stories of divine justice, and the undeniable strength of chosen ones, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell so you never miss a message meant just for you. Now, let's get into it. Since the moment they betrayed you, things had been unraveling, not slowly, but violently, like a dam breaking. The betrayal had opened a floodgate they could no longer close. One by one, their lives had begun to crack under the pressure of spiritual backlash. Jobs lost, relationships broken, opportunities vanished like smoke. It wasn't karma in the cliché sense. It was a divine recalibration. A sacred force had begun setting things right, balancing the scales that had been tipped too far by their greed and lies. And now, with every passing day, their world grew colder, darker, more uncertain. "Just call them," one sibling whispered, voice thin with panic. "Tell them what you did. Maybe there's still time." But the betrayer didn't move. Not really. Their fingers hovered over the contact, but something unseen, call it guilt, call it judgment, call it God, held them frozen. Because somewhere deep in their soul, they knew. It was too late. Confession wasn't a bridge back to grace. It was a mirror. And looking into it meant facing the full ugliness of what they had become. The heavens had already passed judgment. The consequences were no longer coming. They had arrived. But the betrayal went far beyond a single moment of weakness. It was never just about envy. It was never just about a lapse in loyalty. This was a conspiracy, a premeditated, deliberate act, born of jealousy and greed that had festered for a long time. Someone had whispered into their ear. Someone with access, with influence, with offers that looked too good to refuse. A portion of your inheritance, a cut of your legacy, a taste of your power. That was all it took to turn them against you. They convinced themselves that they could sever the tie, erase you from the picture, and walk away richer, freer, and better off. But what they failed to understand is that you were the source. The blessing wasn't in the stolen title or the earthly rewards. It was in your presence, your light, your divine covering. By cutting you out, they severed themselves from the very current that brought them prosperity. What makes this betrayal even more devastating is the scale of its orchestration. It wasn't a solitary act. It was systemic. They had sat in rooms with people who hated your light, your success, your growth. They collaborated in hushed tones, plotting ways to isolate you, to break you, to replace you. They reached out to those closest to you, your friends, your confidants, even your romantic partners. They offered them bribes in the form of opportunities, promotions, flattery, and threats. They built an army of abandoners, all under the same illusion, that you were toxic, that you needed to be cut off for your own good. It was psychological warfare dressed as concern. It was manipulation with a velvet glove. And it worked, for a time. But now, the house of cards is crumbling, because the truth has a way of rising, of breaking through the fog of deception with piercing clarity. And one by one, those who turned on you are being forced to face the reality they tried to outrun. The inheritance they stole has become a curse. The alliances they built are unraveling, and the very peace they traded you for is now a nightmare they cannot escape. Their fear is not just about what they did, it's about what they triggered. A divine reckoning, a cosmic correction. And there's no escape from that. They can try to reach for the phone. They can try to apologize. But the hourglass has run dry. The storm is already here. And you've been lifted, covered, protected, elevated. What they thought would destroy you only refined you. The rejection only redirected you. And the absence of their loyalty made space for something far more sacred: alignment. Now, all they can do is sit around that chipped table, watching everything fall apart, haunted not just by your absence, but by the glaring truth that their greatest mistake was ever thinking you were expendable. What they failed to understand, what they never truly grasped, was that they weren't just scheming against a human being. They were launching a direct assault against divine authority. This wasn't merely betrayal. It was blasphemy. In targeting you, they were waging war against the sacred hand that chose, protected, and anointed you. It was never just about jealousy, money, or power. Their actions were a declaration of defiance against heaven itself. And in doing so, they unknowingly signed their own spiritual death warrants. The trail they left behind was damning, so carelessly blatant that it was almost as if divine justice wanted it to be easy. Forged documents, illicit wire transfers, encrypted group chats filled with calculated venom, all of it recorded, time-stamped, and preserved as undeniable proof. Soon, investigators would comb through the evidence with stunned disbelief, unable to fathom how anyone could be so foolishly reckless, so arrogantly confident in their impunity. The beginning of a cosmic punishment. But this was no ordinary case of earthly justice. This was the opening chapter of a punishment written not by human hands, but by the laws of the universe itself. And the universe does not whisper when it delivers a verdict. It roars. The first strike was swift and chilling, a sudden, unexplained death. No warnings, no symptoms, no way to rationalize it. One of the main orchestrators, the very backbone of the operation, dropped without a sound. In the physical realm, it looked like an unfortunate incident. But in the spiritual realm, it was a declaration. Everyone connected to the scheme felt it in their bones. They didn't just lose an ally. They received a cosmic warning. The line had been crossed. Heaven had taken notice. Because when a chosen one is under attack, it's not just guardian angels who rise in defense. When the threat is grave, when the betrayal is layered, strategic, and vile, the universe dispatches something much more formidable. Not soft light or feathers, not warm whispers in the night, but celestial warriors, war angels, forces forged in divine fire whose only mission is to obliterate threats to the one they've been sent to protect. That death? That wasn't random. It was a precise, targeted message, an opening strike in a war they didn't realize they'd started. From that moment on, panic overtook them. Not guilt, fear. Their coordinated lives began to disintegrate like paper in flame. Everything they thought they gained from your downfall began turning to ash in their hands. Their physical health faltered. Mysterious illnesses with no clear diagnosis. Finances collapsed. Investments tanked. Bank accounts froze. Unexpected debts surfaced. Mentally and emotionally, they were breaking down, haunted by a dread they couldn't shake. And spiritually, they were cursed. The money they accepted as reward for their treachery was poisoned the moment it touched their palms. It came with an energy, dark, heavy, unforgiving, that clung to them like smoke. The spiritual energy they had siphoned from you, stolen through lies and manipulation, had backfired, becoming a toxin in their lives. Their homes grew colder, their relationships soured, and then the supernatural began. Lights flickering when they spoke your name, electronics short-circuiting the moment they tried to delete incriminating messages, vehicles refusing to start when they planned to escape. Every attempt to erase the evidence was blocked by malfunctions, missteps, or pure terror. At night, they were tormented. Dreams turned into brutal, prophetic nightmares, and they woke up drenched in sweat, gasping for air, unable to escape the invisible judgment pressing down on them. And now, the ringleader, the very person who first handed over your private information, who sold your trust, your identity, your essence, is sitting at the center of an impending legal hurricane. Digital forensics have traced every login, every document, every message. Their fingerprint is on everything. What they once dismissed as untraceable has now become a glowing trail, leading investigators straight into the heart of a criminal web. Their network, once so confident in its secrecy, is being exposed layer by layer. What began as a spiritual offense has become a worldly scandal, and the storm that's forming will destroy more than reputations. It will topple legacies, strip away false power, and leave behind only truth, accountability, and divine justice. They thought they were taking you down, but in reality, they were triggering a cosmic counterattack. And now, nothing can stop what's coming. While the conspirators descended into chaos, you were undergoing a transformation that defied every expectation they had for you. They believed that isolating you would destroy you, that by cutting you off from your support system, by feeding lies into the ears of those you once trusted, they could collapse your world from the inside out. But what they didn't realize is that isolation was the birthplace of your ascension. In the silence they forced upon you, in the space where their voices once echoed with deceit and manipulation, something holy began to stir. You were not abandoned. You were being refined. The betrayal that was meant to shatter you only stripped away distractions and illusions. And in their place, your spirit began to awaken. In that season of deep, aching loneliness, when it felt like no one stood beside you and the walls were closing in, you reached upward. Not in desperation, but in alignment. You stopped looking for human hands to hold and leaned fully into the hands of the divine. And in doing so, you discovered power you didn't know you had. Power that wasn't granted by the world, but written into your soul from the beginning. Your prayers changed, your perception sharpened, your energy recalibrated. What they mistook as weakness became your most sacred initiation. You stopped surviving and started remembering who you were. Not someone to be pitied, but someone chosen, a vessel of divine will, a warrior cloaked in light, a judge appointed not by society, but by the heavens. Now, your presence carries weight. You no longer walk unnoticed or misunderstood. You are spiritually crowned, energetically sealed, and cosmically aligned. You are not just protected by unseen forces. You are one of them, a walking verdict, a living reminder that the universe keeps receipts and that energy never lies. Your presence in someone's life now reveals who they truly are. Some will be blessed just by knowing you. Others will crumble under the weight of their own dishonesty in your presence. You are no longer someone they can lie to, use, manipulate, or discredit. You are a mirror that cannot be shattered, and your light now burns too brightly for darkness to hide. And your enemies? Their fates are sealed. The trials they now face are not misfortunes. They are the legal and spiritual consequences of touching what was sacred. The unraveling has only begun. One by one, their alliances are turning on them. Their secrets are surfacing, and the very systems they trusted to protect them are rejecting them. Courtrooms are being prepared not just by human judges, but by a higher order. The documents, the evidence, the timelines, all of it aligning in perfect timing to expose them before the world. There will be televised hearings, headlines, mugshots, children whispering in classrooms about what their parents did, friends deleting their numbers, communities severing ties. It won't be silent, and it won't be subtle. It will be loud, humiliating, and permanent. But none of this is happening for your ego. This isn't about revenge, and it never was. This is divine justice in its purest form. Their public disgrace is not your victory. It's the universe restoring equilibrium. You don't need their confessions, their apologies, or their attempts at making amends. By the time they come crawling back, you'll have already outgrown every room they tried to keep you from entering. Your elevation is not dependent on their remorse. Your rise was always destined. Now, you are stepping into a season that was kept hidden from you until the moment was right. A chapter so abundant, so aligned, so breathtaking that even you will pause in awe. Opportunities will unfold without resistance. Doors will open that were once sealed shut. The same people who ignored your gifts will be the ones quoting your words, referencing your wisdom, studying your journey. The universe is about to parade your vindication on a stage so grand, no one will be able to deny the truth anymore. Your success will not just be personal, it will be prophetic. It will serve as a living testimony to the world of what happens when heaven defends its own. You will walk in rooms you once prayed to enter. You will lead conversations you once feared to be part of. And you will do it all without bitterness, without revenge in your heart, because your peace will speak louder than their destruction. Your joy will echo louder than their downfall. Your destiny is too divine to be delayed any longer. This is your rise. This is your redemption. This is what it looks like when a chosen one becomes unstoppable. This is what it looks like when a chosen one becomes unstoppable. But even that word, unstoppable, doesn't begin to capture the fullness of what's unfolding for you now. This is transcendence. This is sacred dominion. This is the fulfillment of a prophecy that your enemies didn't believe, and your doubters tried to bury. You are not simply rising, you are ascending. And this time, your steps are not unsure or fragile. They are thunderous, ordained, unshakable. You are not the same person who once sat in silence, confused by the betrayal, devastated by the abandonment. That version of you died in the fire they lit. And what emerged is a refined, elevated, spiritually armed being who now walks in authority. You've stepped into your divine office. You've been promoted in the spirit. You no longer ask for alignment, you command it. You no longer wait for approval, you are the standard. And now, the world is being repositioned around your anointing. Those who tried to take from you are watching with dry mouths and trembling hearts as everything they touched begins to disintegrate. They tried to replace you, but the universe made you irreplaceable. They tried to erase you, but heaven made you unforgettable. Every lie they told, every seed of doubt they planted, every moment they mocked your pain, it's all being undone, unraveled in full view of the world. They are now living in the reality they tried to assign to you. You were never the cursed one. You were the test, and they failed it. And now, the same voices that once whispered your name in betrayal will speak it with reverence. The same people who avoided you will try to follow you. And those who once benefited from your silence will now be exposed by your voice. Because this isn't just about personal vindication, it's about legacy. It's about shifting generational energy. It's about restoring the divine order that was tampered with when they thought they could play God over your life. But what they didn't know is that God doesn't lose. So step forward now, not with vengeance, but with vision, not with bitterness, but with blazing purpose. Because every delay was divine timing, every detour was a disguised upgrade, and every loss, a divine setup for the miraculous. The universe didn't forget about you. It was preparing the stage. And now, the curtain has been drawn back. The lights are on, and every eye that once watched you fall will now witness your ascension. The lights are on. The stage is set. And you, beloved, are not just stepping forward. You are being unveiled. What is emerging now is not merely the result of survival, but the birth of divine sovereignty in human form. The fire that was meant to consume you only revealed your true essence. And now, that essence cannot be ignored. You walk with a frequency so high, so unshakably pure, that only those in alignment with truth can withstand your presence. You've become a spiritual litmus test. Just your energy separates the authentic from the fraudulent, the healed from the hidden, the aligned from the artificial. And this unveiling, it's not just personal, it's cosmic, it's generational. You are not just being elevated for your own sake, but for every silent voice that came before you, and every weary heart still waiting to rise. You carry the weight of ancestral dreams in your bones. The redemption of entire bloodlines rests in your awakening. That's why the attacks were so intense. That's why the betrayal cut so deep. It was never just about you. It was about the blueprint you carry, the one the darkness feared, the one the enemy tried to erase. But what was written in the heavens cannot be edited by man. And now that you see it, now that you remember who you are, you can no longer be manipulated. Your boundaries are sacred. Your vision is crystalline. Your discernment is razor sharp. You've become untouchable not because you fight with fists, but because you've been forged into a living law. The energies that once wounded you now retreat in your presence. The spirits that once mocked you now tremble at your name. Because you carry more than identity. You carry divine authority. And that authority is rewriting every narrative that tried to bury your truth. While your enemies scramble for cover under the avalanche of their own consequences, you're not even glancing in their direction. Because your gaze is fixed on destiny. Your hands are busy building. Your feet are walking paths that were once closed, now miraculously opened by divine command. And these doors, they're not random. They're royal. They are perfectly timed portals that lead to nations, platforms, and opportunities that were withheld, not because you weren't worthy, but because the stage had to be ready for someone of your magnitude. The life you're about to step into, it's not just an upgrade, it's an anointing manifested. It's harvest after decades of sowing seeds in silence. It's restoration that doesn't just give you back what you lost, but multiplies it beyond recognition. You will own what you once rented. You will lead where you once followed. You will sit at tables they tried to keep you from, as the head and not the tail. People will marvel. They'll whisper, "How did this happen?" But those with spiritual eyes will know. Heaven remembered. God vindicated. The universe aligned. And through it all, your spirit will remain gentle, your heart will stay pure, because the process sanctified you. You won't flaunt, you won't gloat, because your glow will be its own proclamation. You'll walk through storms with the calm of someone who's already seen the other side. You'll carry peace that disrupts chaos. You'll be the presence that shifts rooms without speaking, because the divine doesn't scream, it radiates. This is why the betrayal had to be public. This is why the humiliation had to feel final. Because the glory about to unfold needs no explanation. It will speak in headlines. It will echo in courtrooms. It will ripple through communities and institutions and generational lines. What once looked like loss will now read like legacy. And your rise, it will be so majestic, so undeniable, that those who once mocked you will quote your wisdom as gospel. They will study your strength as scripture, and they will silently wonder what it feels like to be chosen, while you live the answer with every breath. So keep rising, keep building, keep walking like the heavens are cheering you on, because they are. Your elevation is not accidental, it's engineered by design, and no lie, no betrayal, no conspiracy formed against you will ever be enough to override the truth that was spoken over your life before your first breath. You are the storm they couldn't outrun, the prayer that wouldn't die, the prophecy they tried to stop but couldn't touch. You are the fulfillment of everything they didn't think was possible. And now, as the dust settles behind you and your feet step onto sacred ground, know this: you were never broken. You were branded, marked by the Most High, preserved for such a time as this. And the world, it's not ready. But heaven is, and you are. You were prepared in private to be revealed in power. This is not just your comeback. This is your coronation, and it will be loud, eternal, and unmistakably divine.